What do you mean we've run out of doors? Make some new ones!
Right, so we've got our job for today. So first off, we start with the blue stuff, which I've had this for a number of years. You can see it is really been well used. So this stuff comes in bars. It's I would say it's about the £12 mark if you can get it online, and you melt it down in hot water, and then it's simply press whatever you want to make a mold of into it, and let it set for a couple of minutes, and then you take it out, and then you're left with this lovely little mold. So I've been using it for a number of years for a load of my projects. Some things do work better than others. Obviously, what I find is with orc stuff, it's quite big and bulky and chunky, so it comes out really well. We can see a few here which are sort of space marine themed, and the detail is so fine that it doesn't always come across so well, but I will be probably using those for other parts of the Giga-Gargant in scrap piles and stuff, so it's not too bad. Now, this here is what I will always use. I've tried loads of things. It's plumber's clay. You can find it for super cheap in hardware stores and pound shops and everything like that. Normally, it's the independent sort of cheaper sort of pound stores that you'll find them in, and they are an absolute gift. So work very similar to green stuff, but I would say you're sort of looking at a tenth of the price. So let's start this little bit of a side quest, which is essentially to avoid having to buy extortionately priced individual bits on eBay. And this way you can make as many as you want, so long as you have this wonderful plumber's clay. Now, it comes wrapped up, so what you want to do is please use gloves. I would always recommend using gloves, especially with this product. Sometimes the ends are a little bit dried out, so you want to just cut them away, take a few millimeters out from either end, and that really helps later on, so you don't have these big lumpy bits in the mix. Now, you're going to want to absolutely mash it all together, and the sort of look you're going for is this sort of bluey grey, which is quite a cool color actually, sort of a little bit of a space wolfy color. And obviously using the water helps activate it. That's a bit of a word. Activate it, and it keeps it all really nice and pliable. You don't want to add too much because the curing time will be a lot longer. So you want just enough just to keep it nice and pliable. So what I'm going to do is roll it out nice and flat, as you see, and that ensures that there's any lumpy bits are really mixed in well, really sort of pressurized it. And then what I'm going to do is place it into the mold. Now, as you can see, what I'm trying to do is use as little as possible, because it's still quite expensive to do this sort of technique if you're making lots of them. So it's best to keep them as thin as possible. And also, when they do get to the stage of placing them onto any project you have, the thinner it is, the less likely it will break when you're sort of bending it around a corner or trying to fit it into a particular space. So it gives a little bit of flexibility, but again, I would always say they are fragile. Keep in mind that it is an epoxy sort of compound, so it's not going to be super flexible if you are expecting it to go around 90-degree angles and stuff. So I'm going to force it into all the little corners, every little nook and cranny where you want to ensure that no detail is left behind. I'm going to use the roller, which is just a vitamin C a tablet tube. Again, nice and light piece of equipment, not too bulky. You got to use the tools you're given, so why not? And then I will add a little bit of water. This will just help settle it all into place and make it a lot easier for you, as well as the cleanup. I find the drier it is, the harder it is to get off any surfaces that it attaches itself to. I do feel that I will have to do this section of the blue stuff again. I just felt like I might have allowed too much time to elapse before I put in the original templates, or rather the things I wanted to make a mold from. And so I might come back and just simply whack it in a glass of hot water straight from the kettle, let it sit there for a bit, and then you can literally roll it out nice and flat and then start the process all over again. So this must be the 20th time I've used this blue stuff. It is an incredible piece of equipment you can use to really go to the next level when you're making your trash building stuff. Now, the bigger items, I think doors are the biggest I've ever made using blue stuff. I really do think that the sky's the limit with this if you have the expertise for it. I don't, so I'm going to stick with just doors. This door in particular is really nice. It's got some really big, clumsy, I'd say, clumsy orc architecture to it, so it works really well. The other one is a little bit flimsier, which I don't really like as much, so I'm going to bear that in mind, but it was a nice option to make. Oh, I've actually got that all mixed up. The one that I just did was the flimsy one. This one is a lot more robust, so some things, like I said, will take to it a lot better than others, so it is a trial and error. You'll notice I'm dabbing my finger, and that really helps as well. It just makes it a bit more pliable, and I'm adding little bits of the plumber's clay as I go. You'll always, I find, underestimate how much you're going to need. Thankfully, there's a little store near me that actually sells it, so it's £1.99. You really can't complain with those prices. Green stuff is amazing for fine detailing, but I'm not a sculptor in any way, shape or form. I don't think I'll ever get around to being able to master that, so this is the only stuff I use, and I can't rate it more. You'll notice that there is a lot of mess, so bear that in mind. I think next time what I'll probably do is just put a bit of newspaper down and do it on there. That way any of the quite nasty, noxious sort of plumber's clay gets absorbed into the paper, and then you can chuck it away nice and safely. So obviously keep this away from any children and any pets as well, because I've just noticed my new dog was sniffing in the bin where I placed all the excess, so do bear that in mind, because you never know, it could smell like peanut butter to those guys. And we are almost there, so I'm going to just finish by putting a dab of water over the top, give it a nice final roll, and that's literally, I wanted to keep the whole process in so you can actually see how quickly this all is. Now, the next day you are greeted with this awesome, wonderful little task, which is essentially just to get them out of the mold. So I don't particularly bother heating my hobby room much, as I'm hardly in there most days. So what I find is that this, if you let dry over a course of a couple of days, it's a lot tougher, so you've got to be a bit more gentle. So as you can see, this one here is the door, which I don't particularly like, but I will incorporate it somewhere on the project. This one is the far better one, which, as you'll see, I was super pleased with how this one came out. A lot thicker. The detail is really just absolutely just pops. It is incredible. And these are the smaller ones. So the detailing for these aren't as good as I've had in previous times. So what I will do is melt it all down, like I said, and reform it and do the whole process again. It literally takes 2 or 3 minutes to do, so it's no real chore. All in all, I'm happy with how they came out. So the last job is to take off any of the excess, which there will inevitably be. I try to keep this to a minimum with using small additional bits of the plumber's clay as you go along, rather than just whack it all in and hoping for the best. So keep that excess to a minimum. And then later on, if you can't use a scalpel because they're too dried, you can use a bit of sandpaper, which works just as well. And I thought I would just show you how they look in situ. And the flip side of taking them out of the molds a little bit early is that they're a lot more pliable, so you can go around corners. So especially for this tower, that worked really well. If you have any questions about what you've seen today, please do not hesitate to write in the comment section, and I'll make sure I respond. I just want to say thank you ever so much for joining me for the 13th episode of the Giga-Gargant project. I'm really enjoying this. I've had a week or so off just to wait for a few of the supplies I've needed to come through the post. So do expect the usual 2 episodes a week going forward. So with all that said, I hope you all have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next time.